Hi, welcome to Crisco's Corner. Proud to live in the greatest country in the world. Unfiltered opinions, no PC discussion here. Agree, disagree, hate it, love it, it's all good. Sit back and enjoy some unfiltered commentary. We discuss politics, culture, interviews, and more. Your comments are always welcome. Please help the channel by hitting that subscribe button. Doesn't cost a thing. And as always, thanks for your support. Hi, folks. Welcome back. Senator Rand Paul, stop piling debt on future generations. Open the economy. Is anybody listening? Rand Paul delivers blistering floor speech opposing monster COVID spending bill, says GOP no better than Dems. Out of the U.S. Senate, of the 98 that voted, only 6 voted against it. At risk of being called the Christmas Grinch, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky took to the Senate floor Monday to deliver a blistering speech ahead of the vote to pass a $900 billion coronavirus relief package, taking fellow Republicans, to task for supporting the monster spending bill. Paul points out that it's everything they claim they don't believe in. Congress passed the rescue package late Monday along with the massive $1.4 trillion government spending bill to help fund federal agencies for the new fiscal year. The over 5,500-page bill dropped on members just a few hours before the vote. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell called the measure another historic rescue package to help American families through this pandemic, suggesting this is why struggling Americans have needed for months. It's quite a speech, and I'm going to play it, and I hope that people listen. And on occasion, I might pause it and make a comment. Here's a startling statistic for you. As of this week, when this passes, and it did, and the president threatened to veto it unless more money wasn't given to the American people. I mean, it was, what was it, $10 million, I think? Something to do in Pakistan with gender relations or gender studies or something. It's just filled with so much crap. It has something to do with copyright. This, it's hundreds of millions and billions of dollars to just giving it away to multi-billion-dollar corporations and overseas. See, here's the thing. Before I start the video, I want to make this comment. Tim Pool had an interesting analogy. When you're in an airplane and you're about to take off, the steward and stewardesses instruct you, if there's an emergency, that the oxygen mask comes down. And the first thing I tell you is do not, say you're with a child or you're with somebody older or you're sitting next to somebody that might have trouble putting the mask on. They say do not put their mask on. Put on yours first. And then help them. Because if you don't, you're both going to be in trouble. Look out for yourself first before you help somebody else. That's not selfish. It's just practical. And it's better for everyone. The same goes for the problems we're having with these draconian lockdowns. It's the Democrat-run states that have these draconian lockdowns. I, for the life of me, can't figure out why. They know they're causing so much harm. Why are they doing it? The election, for all intents and purposes, is already over. Why are they making it worse? I don't get it. Are they purposely trying to drain the entire middle class of the United States into dust? To take 90% of the middle class and put them in almost poverty? And the few that are left to go in the upper echelons, upper elite of money earners, I don't get it. What is the motivation? I don't understand. Even if it was something at batshit crazy reason, is it all about China's influence? Is it really that simple? Or is there something wrong with the progressive mind? They think they're doing good. In fact, Andrew Cuomo said, somebody said, I think it was Rush Limbaugh, said in a recent press conference that Governor Andrew Cuomo said he's been really good this year and he expects something good from Santa Claus. I mean, my God, my God. Anyway, folks, is anybody listening? 1/3 of all the money in the United States after this bill passes will be less than a year old. 1/3. That should scare the crap out of you. Let's see what Senator Paul has to say.
Kentucky.
Republicans like to mock modern monetary theory, the idea that government can print money with impunity, that government can spend whatever it wants without the need to tax. Modern monetary theory is basically the Dick Cheney deficits don't matter crowd, trussed up with a new fancy title. Most Republicans rightly lampoon this quackery, that is, when they're not practicing the quackery themselves. Today, many of these same Republicans will vote for a bill that makes modern monetary theory look like child's play in comparison. The monster spending bill presented today is not just a deficits don't matter disaster, it is everything Republicans say they don't believe in. This bill is free money for everyone. Proponents don't care if you're fully employed or own your own house or own your own business. Free money for everyone, they cry. And yet, if free money were the answer, if money really grew on trees, why not give more free money? Why not give it out all the time? Why stop at $600 a person? Why not $1,000? Why not $2,000? Maybe these new free money Republicans should join the Everybody Gets a Guaranteed Income caucus. Why not $20,000 a year for everybody? Why not $30,000? If we can print up money with impunity, why not do it? The Treasury can just keep printing the money. That is, until someone points out that the emperor has no clothes and that the dollar no longer has value. To so-called conservatives who are quick to identify the socialism of Democrats, if you vote for this spending monstrosity, you are no better. When you vote to pass out free money, you lose your soul and you abandon forever any semblance of moral or fiscal integrity. So the next time you see Republicans in high moral dudgeon claiming and complaining about spending of Democrats and socialism, remind them if they supported this monstrous bill that really the difference between the parties is less Adam Smith versus Marx and more Marx versus Engels. How about?
I want to pause this now. It's going to be tough to make a call here for the constitutionalists like myself. And I'm a Trump supporter. I'm going to say so right up front. Not that it matters, because facts are facts. And whether I hated Donald Trump's guts or thought he was the best thing since sliced bread is immaterial. What he's saying is absolutely true. What is money going to be worth? Hasn't history taught us? Look at the runaway inflation just before Adolf Hitler came to power in Germany. People were actually burning money to keep warm because it was cheaper than buying firewood. Think about that for a minute. This is the currency that has the number one value in the world for a long, long time. I'll tell you a funny story. I remember when the Soviet Union collapsed. 60 Minutes was in Moscow interviewing some prostitutes. And they asked them, since your currency is worthless, what do you take for payment? And they said, Marlboro cigarettes, German marks, and U.S. dollars. Those are the only three things they take, because the German mark had great standing in the world, and of course Marlboro cigarettes are really hard to get in the Soviet Union. They're the best cigarettes, so, and of course the U.S. dollar, the almighty U.S. dollar. And the more they print, the less it becomes. And what happens is, all of you that are saving for retirement like me, I'm 64, the inflation will eat away all of your savings. All of it. If you have any cash, any 401ks, or just cash in your bank account, once this inflation kicks in, you will lose the vast majority of it. Well, the money will still be there. The fact of the matter is, though, what you can buy with it. It would take more and more and more money to buy the same things, which makes your money worth less. Is anybody listening? And what if the Republicans vote no? The Democrats will turn around and blame them for not giving the money to the people that are dying, literally, whose businesses are collapsing, whose lives are being destroyed because of the draconian lockdowns of the Democrats. It's extortion. It's extortion. It's an incredibly dangerous game. And the ones that are going to lose, the American people. When are we going to wise up? So my point is this. Is basically what he's saying, the uniparty, the Democrats and Republicans are the same, should we say F them? And those of us that are conservative and believe in the Constitution of the Republic should let the Republicans burn. To vote them out in Georgia. Let the Democrats take over. They're just as bad. It doesn't matter what side it is. But is that anything in life, timing is everything. Timing is everything. Whether it be personal, love, money, business, politics, you name it. Timing is everything. And this is not the time now to throw them out. We have to purge the progressives first. Then we work on the rest. We're in such a mess. There's no easy fix. And it's going to take years to straighten this out. Let's listen to what Senator Paul has to say.
How bad is our fiscal situation? Well, the federal government brought in $3.3 trillion last year and spent $6.6 trillion. The deficit last year, a record-busting $3.3 trillion. If you're looking for more COVID bailout money, we don't have any. The coffers are bare. We have no rainy day fund. We have no savings account. Congress has spent all the money long ago. The economic damage from this pandemic is not the reason for this runaway spending. This spending's been going on for decades. Every year, even before we get to all the extra COVID-free money, we've been spending $1 trillion we don't have. Today's money is gone. So Congress is spending tomorrow's money. The spending chart is a red line of red ink that goes on forever. When we talk about spending tomorrow's money, it's not just the money that we need next month, it's the money we might need in a decade. It's the money we will need in 1, 2, 3 generations from now. For national defense, for infrastructure. This is the money that your children and your grandchildren will pay back with interest. The deficit, doubling and tripling. Under George Bush, it went from $5 trillion to $10 trillion. Under President Obama, it went from 10 to 20 trillion. We're now at 27 trillion, but we're adding it at $1 trillion a year before we get to this COVID budget-busting bailout. Every tax-paying American already owes over $136,000, and they're staring at projections into the future that show no end. We are $27 trillion.
Think about that for a minute, folks. Each taxpaying person owes over $100,000. $100,000. Think about that. I figured it out once because these numbers get to be so huge. A billion, a trillion, it all sounds the same. Of course, we all know that $1 trillion is a billion 1,000 times, and $1 million 1,000 times is 1 billion. I'm going to give you a rough idea, and he's going to use some comparisons as well. From the second you're born until your 30th birthday, 30 years, at $1 a second, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, $1 a second, you haven't hit a billion yet. So we break that down into 1 year. That's $30 a second for 1 year. 1 second, $30. That's just 1 billion. Multiply that times 1,000 to make $1 trillion to give you an idea. We're looking at $30,000 a second. A second. Just me explaining that last, half a minute? How much money is that? Figure it out. It's almost $1 million. It's incredible. It's incredible. $30,000 a second is $1 billion a year. And we're spending 1,000 times that with money we don't have.
In debt today. How do we expect a child to have the economic opportunity when this crushing debt is their inheritance from Congress? The numbers are mind-boggling. It's hard to conceive of what $1 billion is, much less $1 trillion. How big is a billion? Well, 1 billion seconds ago was 1988, and Reagan was president. 1 billion minutes ago, Jesus walked the shore of the Sea of Galilee. 1 billion hours ago, man still lived in caves. But $1 billion ago was just 80 minutes ago. $1 billion ago, at the rate Congress spends money, was just 80 minutes ago. All of this should be setting off alarm bells. But the only alarm bells in Congress are sounding the alarm for more spending and more debt. No cuts, no offsets, no pay-fors, no prioritization. Just print up more money and give it out to everybody because it's free money, come and get yours. Well, the getting's good, but it leads to a mountain of debt. Spend all this money and leave the future to figure itself out. John Maynard Keynes was once asked, what about the long run? He said, in the short run, you can make a stimulus, you can print money, and you can give it to everybody. And Maynard Keynes, his response was, in the long run, we'll all be dead. No concern for the future, only for the immediate. Our budget deficit for 2020 was $3.3 trillion, but this new spending package will also give us another $2 trillion in the next fiscal year. By refusing to acknowledge the debt crisis, we are only hastening the day of economic reckoning. Total debt was 55% of GDP just 20 years ago. Today, it's 128% of GDP. So our total debt is more than our GDP, 128% of our GDP. The World Bank estimates there's a tipping point of debt to GDP at about 77%. Every percentage point costs another tenth or so of economic growth. So every year we're giving up somewhere between 5 to 8% of growth every year because of this burden of debt. This is thousands of jobs every year, tens of thousands of jobs that we lose because of this burden of debt. We are borrowing and worsening this debt crisis in part because too many governors and mayors have imposed heavy-handed restrictions that crush business. It isn't the pandemic that's killing the economy, it's the government's overzealous response that is killing the economy. The pandemic itself was disrupted, but Congress is being asked to help perpetuate these lockdowns. The more money we give to the states, the more they keep us in lockdown. Every bailout dollar printed and passed out to the governors only allows these tin-pot dictators to perpetuate the lockdowns. Their rules are
Think about that for a minute. We haven't even got to what the states owe. In the new Biden administration, even I'm afraid if the Republicans keep the Senate, at least they can hold the lid down a little. But the Democrats take over the Senate, they're going to bail out every single, I call them blue states, the states with huge social program burdens. Give you an idea. Medicaid. Now, Medicaid and Medicare. Medicare is for the elderly. Medicaid is for the low-income welfare. The state of New York, where I live, the average Medicaid recipient spends double per person than the state of California, the most socialist, progressive, spend money like it's water state, and we manage to spend twice as much per person. These things are all coming to a head. And those of you out there listening, when I say this, I'm not calling people dumb. I'm not calling you dumb. It's the low information voter, the low info voter, they call them. They have no idea the repercussions of what they're voting for, who they're voting for, and what the results are. You reap what you sow. And now, my understanding is, I've done some research. Take a guess of the wage earners before COVID, and it'll be back after COVID, the people that work full time in the United States. Take a guess what the bottom 50% pays in net federal taxes. I say net because most people pay a little bit in gasoline and other federal taxes, but they get back more than they put in. Net federal taxes. The bottom 50% of wage earners in this country pay 1%. 1%. The other 99 is paid for the upper 50%. And as inflation and the economy starts to stagger from this crippling debt and weight, and then what's going to happen on top of that is going to be more debt as the Biden administration puts together bailouts for all the blue states. It's unbelievable, the extortion that's involved. These draconian lockdowns by these dictatorial, not all, but mostly Democrat governors and mayors are causing a crisis. And they get to cause the problem, and you have to bail them out. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Now, I'm 64. My savings is already chewed up. I've been targeted by local progressives for speaking out against them. So basically, my financial future is screwed. But what about my kids? They're in their 30s. I have a granddaughter that's going to be 2 in a couple of months. What about their futures? What about them? We were the shining, and I think still are, the shining city on the hill. But for how much longer? I say, okay, the rest of the world's in the crapper too. So we'll make out. This debt is piling up. It's piling up. It's out of control. And I'll tell you the truth in the end, I'm not going to blame the senators and the Congress people. I'm going to blame the American people for letting it happen. Oh, I'll just keep my head down. It doesn't affect me any. I don't pay any taxes. I don't care. Which the bottom 50% basically don't. Now the chickens are coming home to roost. And everybody says this guy's, a Debbie Downer. Well, you think he enjoys making this speech? Let's listen to the rest, and then I'll finish up.
Arbitrary and unscientific. Governors and mayors across the country are picking winners and losers. Businesses, some that have been in families for generations, are being wiped out because they're not allowed to open. Restaurants have to close their doors for indoor dining, but then they get told they can open at limited capacity. But then they are told they have to close again. And then they get told they can open outside, and then they're told they can't open outside. Confusing, doesn't even explain the half of it. Bars are told that they can only serve alcohol if people are sitting and not standing, and only if they have heavy foods on their menus. Restaurants are told they can serve outdoors, then they have their permission revoked after they've sunk time and money converting their restaurant to outdoor services. But a caterer is told they can still serve outside. Businesses are told they have to close at an arbitrary time determined by government officials as though the virus only comes out late at night. A business in one zip code can open, but one in an adjoining zip code across the street has to close, as if the virus can't cross an imaginary line. Airlines are allowed to fly, but hotels have to limit their occupancy, so you may not have anywhere to stay when you get there. Mom and pop stores and specialty stores are forced to close, but big box store competitors are allowed to stay open. How is any business expected to survive with this kind of arbitrary regulation that changes from day to day? Meanwhile, many schools remain closed, despite overwhelming evidence showing kids can learn safely in person. Which means parents can't go to work, which forces parents to leave their jobs and take care of homebound kids. Now, they have no income because the government forced them to leave their jobs to take care of their kids, and many kids are struggling with this improvised virtual school. The need for help is real. I hear it every day from Kentuckians and across the country. But it's clear that government has worsened the economic damage and acted as the biggest obstacle to economic recovery. There is no free money that can get us out of this situation. The only thing that can save us is to open the economy. If we give these tin pot dictators, these governors, more money, they're less likely to open the economy. The answer is not printing up and distributing free money. It's opening the economy. We're not even debating the real answer to this. We're like, just print up the money and shovel it out the door. The deficit be damned. The threat of the destruction of our currency be damned. We can choose to let our economies open with guidance and precautions, but not obstruction. Let people rebuild their livelihoods. Reopen our schools so our kids can return and parents can go back to work. Congress should do away with automatic spending increases and scrutinize where in the budget we can find savings to pay for the pressing needs arising from the pandemic. But we shouldn't simply print up money and pass it out to everyone. Or Congress can follow the status quo. Congress can continue to borrow from our kids, the same children we've locked out of our schools. Congress can keep enabling and shutting down businesses by force, spend all of today's money and all of tomorrow's money, and then good luck. Good luck figuring out how to pay for all of this massive debt. It doesn't have to be this way. There is another alternative that won't be debated, and that alternative is open the economy. It's not too late to change our course. Cut unnecessary spending, eliminate waste, stop fighting a $50 billion a year war in Afghanistan that hasn't had a military mission in at least a decade. Make the hard decisions now. We can't keep pretending that more debt is a sustainable policy course. Leadership is not passing on the problem to someone who can't protest. Leadership is making the hard choices now. This is what we have to do. I will oppose this new debt, and I will continue to sound the alarm until we change our course. Our country can be saved. We can survive this if we pull together, but adding more debt is a mistake. It is not the solution, and we should resist it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Exactly right. Amazingly said. Straight to the point. No fluff. No hyperbole, as they say. No half an hour speech. As you can see, that was less than 13 minutes. And he covered it all. Open the economy. But John, people will die. People are dying now. We're going to destroy the greatest economy in the history of the world. Government can't save everyone. It's a pandemic. People are going to die. Are more people going to die if you open up the economy? Yeah, they are. They are. They'll say, well, John, we can't do that. But you're not counting the people that are dying. They're dying from being shut in. And there are some things worse than death. As Governor Cuomo laughed, he said, what's worse than that? How about this? How about a 4-generation business that employs all of their family, their immediate family, their cousins, hundreds and hundreds of people that have been around for 80, 90, 100 years. And you're my age, 64, and you're running it. And you want to pass it on to your children, and now it's ashes. And you have to live the rest of your life knowing you failed. You failed your family. You failed your father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather, all the relatives that worked before you. And there's tens of thousands of businesses just like that. You have to have that burden of failure and just been defeated, ground in the dust, and you have to live with that for another 20 years. Yeah, some things are worse than death. Alcoholism, the drug addiction rate are going up. They're skyrocketing. My understanding, suicide attempts are going up 400%. Yes, open the economy up. Yes, people will die. If we use this same logic on the interstate highways, let's drop all the speed limits to 30 miles an hour. That will save a lot of people. But we don't do it because there are risks in a society. Government can't protect you from everything. It's up to you. Is anybody going to listen to Senator Paul? I sigh because I believe not. And we'll do what all humans do. We'll wait. We'll wait until it's just about too late before we act. And then it will be too late. And that great experiment called America, the republic that was built, that was an example for the rest of the world, that is the shining symbol of democracy and the place that everyone dreams of going to, will be gone, will be trashed. And how are we going to rebuild? It'll take 100 years. What are we going to do? We have to cut back, and it's going to hurt, and some people are going to die. But we have to do it to save the country. Until next time, folks, goodbye and good luck.